To order. Can we please have the roll call?
Ms. Turner,
Present.
Ms. Rich,
Present.
Mr. Burris,
Here.
Mr. Grossman,
Here.
Mr. Wood,
Here.
Mr. Fuchs is in the audience.
All right, thank you so much. So our first order of business is election of officers. Do we have any nominations for chair?
You.
We have discussion?
Well, I think what we do is we'll have nomination, and then that will, once we have the nominations on the table, then we will have the floor open for discussion.
Oh, okay. I would like to make nomination. I'd like to nominate you for chairperson and Joanne for vice chairperson.
Seconded,
Okay. And Ms. Rich?
both, yes.
Okay. Any other nominations? I have a nomination of Ms. Rich for chair. How does this shake things up, man? So discussion, Mr. Grossman?
Yeah, I think that my opinion is, if the folks that are doing the job now are doing a good job, and they have the seniority, they've been here, that they should continue to do the jobs. I think you two are doing a great job, great team, and so I would think that would continue, in my opinion.
Well, thank you, sir.
I echo that.
Okay.
Agree.
Okay, well, goodness me.
So it's unanimous.
We didn't, that's all your own. We have a nomination, 2 nominations for chair. How do we do that?
Right, well, actually, before you gave your nomination, there was a second to the first nomination, which I believe was being treated by a motion. So you can call that question first.
Okay.
And if that's successful, then it's, and I do believe that your term expires this October. And so that would mean that in October, your vice chair would then rise up and become chair, and they would, and for the remainder of that session, then we would have somebody else nominated for vice chair at that time.
So in October, you could nominate a vice chair.
Correct.
To
replace Ms. Rich after she becomes chair
and
upon
then
your
come
expiration.
next February.
That we'll do this again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for current chair Jackie Turner. Sounds strange talking about yourself in the third person. For chair. Do we have a roll call?
Sorry. Mr. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Grossman,
Yes.
Mr. Burris,
Yes.
Ms. Rich,
Yes.
Ms. Turner.
I feel very strange saying yes. It seems very selfish and odd, but then it's just very strange. So
It's all good.
yes. So do we have a nomination for vice chair?
That was combined,
That was a
with the two of
combined.
you.
Oh, so we
That
don't
was
have,
the combined one.
there we go.
Yes, so you're good to go.
Thank you. Y'all, see, I can't even get this straight. No one trusts
You're
me with
good.
this.
You're
My
good.
goodness.
Well, congratulations.
Thank y'all very much. I do enjoy it, working with everyone here. It's always a learning experience. So thank y'all. So our next item is our quasi-judicial announcements and swearing in of speakers. If we can have our attorney lead us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The matters before the City of Tarpon Springs Board of Adjustment are quasi-judicial in nature. In a quasi-judicial proceeding, the board's function is to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those findings of fact to previously established criteria contained in the City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances. This is a legal decision regarding the application before the board. The board may only consider evidence that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues arising from the application and the applicable code sections. If the evidence demonstrates that the application meets the criteria contained in the Code of Ordinances, then the board is required by law to grant the applicant's request. If the evidence demonstrates that the application does not meet the code criteria, then the board is required to deny the applicant's request. Any and all persons providing testimony at this hearing are required to do so under oath. All persons testifying at this hearing must give their name, address, and must indicate whether or not they have been sworn for the record prior to proceeding with their testimony. All testimony and questioning at this hearing must address matters that are relevant and material to the application pending before the city's Board of Adjustment. Any board members who have disclosures, such as ex parte communications or conflicts of interest, please make your disclosures at the beginning of the relevant hearing. The following is the established procedure which will be followed at tonight's quasi-judicial hearings. First, city staff will present the testimony and evidence regarding the application, and the applicant will be given the opportunity to ask questions and cross-examine city staff and any city witnesses. Then the applicant will have the opportunity to present their witnesses and evidence, and the city will have the opportunity to cross-examine the applicant and any of the applicant's witnesses. Then members of the public opposing and in support of the application will be given the opportunity to provide testimony and evidence, and then the applicant and the city will be given the opportunity for a closing statement and rebuttal prior to the board's consideration of this matter. At this time, anyone who's going to testify, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth on the matters before the City of Tarpon Springs Board of Adjustment here this evening?
I do.
Okay. When you come up to speak, please make sure you state your name, address, and indicate for the record that you've received the oath.
I don't know if we have a technical.
Mark or Mike, can I get someone to log into the computer, please?
They went to sleep.
Madam Chairwoman, while we're waiting, I have a notification I have to make. So I personally live in the area of notification of this property. So I received a letter of notification to be able to object to the property or not. I do not know any of the owners or anybody attached to this application at all, but I physically, geographically, my home is in the area of notification.
Okay. And for the record, will your decision on this application inure to your private gain or loss? Will your decision on this application inure to either your private gain or loss?
Oh, no.
And can you still be independent and impartial with respect to your consideration of the testimony and evidence that's presented at this evening's hearing?
Yes,
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I got my hearing aids in too.
All right, so thank y'all for your patience as we work through these things.
I had to do that one time last year when I got the little postcard.
I know, I'm like,
So as that's happening, I will speak slowly, which is not my skill set either, to say that we are going to hear application number 23-158, which is a variance to allow a non-conforming lot of record to be built upon for the purpose of constructing a single-family home. The property is located at the east side of Peninsula Avenue, approximately 210 feet north of the Riverside Drive intersection. So Ms. Keene will make her presentation as soon as technology permits. A thought for consideration for the board and our applicant and those present, seeing as how we do have this one application in front of us and we all have, oh, never mind.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark?
Okay. Ally Keene, Planning and Zoning, Principal Planner. The subject property is outlined in red here on the screen. It's located off of Peninsula Avenue. This property is located within the R100 zoning district, which is a single-family zoning district. There is some R100A zoning, another single-family zoning district to the east of the site. The applicants are here today requesting variance approval to allow a non-conforming lot of record, which is Lot 6 here to the south, that was under common ownership with an adjacent property to the north, Lot 5, to be considered a separate buildable lot. The Land Development Code states that if at any time the owner of a non-conforming lot of record owns adjoining land, that the lot shall be combined to meet the minimum lot requirements. The R100 zoning district requires a minimum lot area of 10,000 square feet and a minimum lot width of 75 feet. The subject property, again, Lot 6 here to the south, has a lot area just under 8,000 square feet and only 68 feet in width. So it's not conforming in both area and width. This slide here is just going over the full history of the property. It was originally platted back in 1925 as a part of the Sunset Hills Second Edition subdivision. This was predating our first land development code, which went into effect in 1944. At that time, it was placed into the R1AA zoning district, and it did comply with the lot standards at that time, so it was compliant. In 1956, a new land development code went into effect. It placed the property into the R18 district, and again, it still was compliant with the minimum lot area and lot width standards for that district. In 1974, the existing home on Lot 5 was constructed, and this was in compliance with the setbacks that were in place at that time. They required a minimum setback of 7.5 feet, and the existing home has an approximately 8 feet of side setbacks. In 1976, the next land development code went into effect, and that's when this property was placed into the R100 zoning district, and it required the minimum lot area of 10,000 square feet, minimum lot width of 75 feet, and this is when the property became non-conforming with the zoning standards. And then it's the same requirements that we have today, which that land development code, our current one, went into effect in 1990. In regards to common ownership, lots 5 and 6 have been under common ownership since as early as 1975. But based on the available records on the Pinellas County Property Appraiser's website, it's unknown whether or not the lots were in common ownership when the house was built in 1974. It is assumed that they were under common ownership at that time. But as I mentioned previously, the home did meet the minimum setbacks as if it was a standalone lot, so it was not reliant on the subject property in order to develop. And then as of 2021, these lots are no longer under common ownership. The applicant provided a proposed site plan, just demonstrating that they are able to meet the minimum required setbacks for the R100 zoning district as they're shown here. So there's no need for a variance for setbacks, even though the lot is non-conforming. And they also provided some proposed elevations of the home. And these are your review standards for the non-conforming lot, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Keene. Are there any questions for the city staff? Mr. Grossman?
So the property is in compliance with all the setbacks and side setbacks and everything? It's just not, the square footage not big enough?
So based off of the site plan they provided to us, they can build a house to meet the minimum required setbacks for the R100 district. What's non-conforming is the property itself is too small an area and not wide enough along the street. But it can comply with the setbacks.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Keene? Okay, thank you so much for providing 99 years of history on this property, always thorough, as you always are. So there are no concerns with the setbacks for the home on Lot 5, because I see where when it was constructed, it met the requirements of this, the side setbacks of 7.5 feet. You said it's at about 8.5, but now we have the 10 with the 25 combo for each side. Any impact for that home?
So based off of the criteria in the code, it talks about for that home, the existing home to be developed, did it need the adjacent property to develop in compliance with the code that was in effect? So at that time, the home did comply because the setback was only 7.5 feet. Although the setbacks are have changed since then, and now they would require at least 10 feet on that side. The lot configuration is not changing. This is a historic layout, so there really was no effect on the adjacent property.
Okay, thank you.
But as we mentioned, the future home on this lot would have to comply with today's standards, so they wouldn't be having any smaller than at least 10 feet.
All right, with the 10 feet either side minimum.
Total
with the
25.
combined 25.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Rich and then Mr. Boris?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Keen. You had mentioned in your report about not being able to determine if there was combined ownership at the time the 75 house was built. Is that put a factor on this?
So from staff's perspective, no, especially because our current code went into effect in 1990, and we can date it back as far as the records can allow us to date it back. So we basically looked at it, you know, when the house was actually constructed, we know it was in 1974. We know the standards that were in place at that time. It was compliant, so we were able to get to our recommendation from there.
And it's currently two different owners?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Boris?
Yes, you mentioned that we have to decide on a minimum lot area. Don't we have to decide on a minimum lot width?
So you don't necessarily have to decide on the actual lot area and lot width. You're deciding whether or not it's a non-conforming lot that meets the review criteria. Oops, sorry. But this is the size of the property. So that's what it is. That's how it's non-conforming. It's required to be those, but this is the size. So you're just determining whether or not it complies with these 3 criteria. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, if we may have the applicant step forward to present, and please state your name and you were sworn in,
Sure.
your name and address.
Yes, my name is Peter Paszkowski. The address is 14622 Coralberry Drive, Tampa, Florida.
Okay. Is there any information that Ms. Keen has not presented or addressed that you feel would be pertinent for us to note this evening?
I guess the only thing I would add is maybe just the fact that that lot is consistent with the size of the lot in that area. So pretty much every lot in that area has a frontage of about, I think, 68 feet on that street. So it is consistent. It's not that it's smaller than anything else. It was just plotted at the time when all the lots in that development neighborhood were sized that way.
Right. 99 years ago, we did things differently.
That is correct.
Yes. Any questions for the applicant? Okay. I did want to state, I did notice, and thank you so much for having such a thorough application with your proposed elevations, and I believe what was a proposed layout for the property itself that shows where you would be in compliance with the front and rear and side setbacks. Just wanted to make a point of record that if the plans were to change, yeah, that slide there, that this board would once again invite you to come before us
Right.
to discuss any potential variances that may be necessary if your construction plans take a different direction.
Our intent is to comply with current code, so I think we're fine with the setbacks the way they are.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So no other questions for our applicant? All right, if there's any public comment regarding this application? Ms. Keen, was there any submissions against email, phone?
Nope, we did not receive anything.
Okay. So at this time, we will close public comment and bring the
Thank you
matter
very
back
much.
to the board. Thank you very much for your time, sir. So any other comments or questions before we move forward for a motion? Okay, seeing none. Do we have a motion on this item?
Make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Motion and second. May we have roll call?
Mr. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Grossman,
Yes.
Mr. Burris,
Yes.
Ms. Rich,
Yes.
Ms. Turner.
Yes. So congratulations. Happy building. And so So the next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes from our meeting on December 20th, 2023. Any points that we want to review before making a motion? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. May we have roll call?
Mr. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Grossman,
Yes.
Mr. Burris.
Yes.
Ms. Rich,
Yes.
Ms. Turner.
Yes. Okay. So, staff comments. Do we have any notifications from the city?
The only thing I wanted to bring up is you may have noticed that we have a fun new tool at the city. We're now using Civic Clerk for all of our agendas, and it makes not only our life super easy, but it also is really great for the public. So I wanted to make sure that everyone was able to access the agenda, whether it's through the board portal or the public-facing portal. Doesn't matter which way you look at it, but it was everyone able to get on there and look at everything.
I thought it was great.
Awesome.
Others, you have some thumbs up?
Great.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it automatically bookmarks everything, and it's going to help Kim with minutes, so she can do it directly, almost at, live with the meeting. So I think it's going to be good for the public as well. But yeah, good. I'm glad you guys were able to get onto it. Did anyone try to use the board portal?
I didn't. I set my password, and I did all of that, and then moved on with other job stuff, but I did
Yeah,
go on
okay.
to the city one. I thought,
Okay, so you
well,
got
let
at
me
least the
try that.
notifications?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got the notifications. It was great. I love hearing about efficiency. So
You're talking about our board portal?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, it was good, easy, quick, and I was able to print this out without it coming out like,
Perfect.
it was,
Yeah, it makes
Much
PDFs
better.
for us, and
Yeah, I had an error in the beginning, so I couldn't get in, so I had to
Okay.
go reset a password, but then it got me in.
perfect. Okay, good. And like I said, it's just your preference. The one benefit of using the board portal is if you're looking at something and you want to take notes on an application, it has a notes feature. I personally think the public portal is really great to use. I use it to, print everything off for you, but we just want to make sure you guys got on there. And I think the intent is to use this for all of our boards.
The only thing I would point out about that is if you're going to take notes in that system, it would then constitute a public record.
Oh, yeah.
okay. Well, thank you very much. That is a very, very,
Very
important point of notice.
So make nice notes.
Yes, so be conscious of the fact that any notes in there is public record. Thank you.
That's all
So
I
no,
had.
congrats. Kim was showing me some of the features and just the efficiency for her, work environment, so that's
Yes.
wonderful.
Just the thought of not having to put together a 200-page PDF is excellent.
Right,
It does it for us.
awesome.
Yep, that's all I have.
So do we have a application for our meeting in March?
There is one on the agenda. Yes, we have one application.
Okay, thank you. And I don't believe we have any holidays hitting us that will impact for quite some time
Yeah.
meeting dates.
I don't think so.
All right, do we have any board comments? No. All right, so it's thrilling that we have Mr. Wood as our alternate, and we now have, Mr., is it Fuse? Fuse, I'm so sorry, as two alternates. I mean, we are very fortunate now. This is fantastic, so we can best serve our community. So thank you all so much, and thank you again for entrusting me with chairing our group here. So if we don't have any other comments, I will call for adjournment at 6:54.